started recording as well.
Hi.
So, good morning, Denise, or it's good night, good evening here in the UK, very late here. Good morning to you. How are you today?
I'm good. It's 10 o'clock in the morning, which is not too early. I've already done one interview today.
Wow.
And yeah, excited to be here. I love this new technology. I think it's amazing.
It's incredible what. Now, firstly, I've got a big thank you to you. You've got no idea, but a few months ago when Periscope first came out, it was just like, oh, Periscope, what's this all about? And you were one of the first people I started watching. And I was desperate to do a scope, but I was just terrified. And I asked you a question in the comments. So, Denise, I was procrastinating about periscoping. I said, Denise, what is your top tip for procrastination? And the advice you gave to me was what I applied to my Periscope was, I think you said something along the lines of public accountability.
Yeah.
So I did. I put it on my Facebook page. I'm going to be on Periscope at lunchtime today. And so I have to thank you. I have you to thank for getting me on Periscope. Thank you very much.
It's the only way I find, because I'm a huge procrastinator. And if nobody knows about your goal, the only person you let down is yourself. And that's really easy to do. So, yeah, you have to make big public announcements. Otherwise, I believe nothing ever happens.
Absolutely. So, yeah, that would totally work for me. Now, I think most people know who you are, but just in case there's one or two people who've hopped on and don't know, could you just introduce yourself for us?
Of course. So my name is Denise Duffield-Thomas, and I am a money mindset mentor, which means I help women especially, but a few guys as well, really change the way they think, speak, and act around their money. And I find for a lot of us entrepreneurs, that is actually the most important thing, is the mindset we have around money is almost more important than the strategy and the marketing, all that kind of stuff, because a lot of that stuff you can get in a checklist and you can follow it. You know, it's easy. But for many of us, our mindset is the thing that really holds us back. It blocks us. It's that feeling of resistance and procrastination that you get when you know what you have to do, but you don't do it. And underlying that is usually fears around money and what having money would mean for us. We always think, of course we'd love to win money. We'd love to win the lottery. But actually, most of us have real blocks around money. And myself included, I often, talk about my personal blocks as well. So I'm over at luckybitch.com and I write books and blogs and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, if you don't know me, come over and actually I was going to say, check out my website, but we're just migrating over at the moment to the new website. So the new one might not be live yet.
Well, it's funny you should say that, because I was just thinking this evening, how can I prepare for this interview with Denise? And then I was looking at my desk and it was just shocking. I just had stuff everywhere. I thought the best way I could prepare is to declutter and tidy up my desk. So that was the first prep I did. And secondly, I got your book back out, read this a couple of times now. There you go, Denise's book, everybody. And it's funny, every time I flick through it, there's nuggets. And I went away on this women's conference this weekend, and actually Lisa was my roomie, and I took this with me. And I was dowsing passages from the book, and I was reading, because you know what it's like. You kind of, like angel cards, we will get to the page we need. So I was reading bedtime stories from your book to the girls I was sharing with. And the other thing I did to prepare was I thought I'd go to your website quickly. This was just about half an hour ago. And then I got so excited. All this stuff's changed, and there's this manifesting thing. So I'm sitting there watching your video, downloading the manifesting formula, which is all live, by the way. It's there on luckybitch.com. And then I'm sitting there watching your video and think, oh, no, I've got to stop. I'm coming to do this interview. So it's so exciting. After we finish tonight, I'm going back to that. So I don't see there's going to be much sleep occurring this evening.
Fabulous. Sorry about that.
No, that's fine. So I think everybody here, if you go to luckybitch.com, you will see Denise's brand new super duper and, manifesting course. Wow, who would not want to do that? So that's there and ready to look at. Now, you mentioned about kind of the fears around money, which was kind of because I'm an EFT practitioner, and one of the things which I was so excited about when I joined the bootcamp, which I didn't even realise when I joined the bootcamp, but there was such a strong emphasis on EFT, and it was like, oh my god, this is just so exciting. And because you talk about EFT an awful lot in the boot camp and in your book and, in your Facebook group as well. So I'd just love to know just how you use EFT and how, and, just kind of around the emotion, because obviously there's so many emotions tied up with money. Let's talk a bit about emotions and money.
So for those of you who don't know, emotional freedom technique is a form of tapping. It's a kind of, it seems like a really weird thing. You tap and you say a mantra. And to be honest, we could have used many tools, and we actually do use many tools in the boot camp to clear blocks, because what we're really looking for is pattern interrupters. We're just looking for ways for you to change your mindset very quickly about money or about anything. So I think anything that you could use, and it literally could just be, a rubber band on your hand that says stop that thought in its tracks. But emotional freedom technique is very personal for me as well. Like when I was living in London, I remember I was working in a consultancy, and it was a beautiful environment in lots of ways. But I was so frustrated in myself because I knew that I wanted to work for myself. And every time I tried, and trust me, I tried, like every year I'd quit my job dramatically and say, I'm going to work for myself. And it never worked out because I was always, having these thoughts and feelings and resistance and procrastination that I wasn't good enough. And it stopped me. And then every 6 months I would go back into a job. And so I remember I was in this company and I was telling my friend there, I really want to work for myself. And she was saying, I really want to move to California and be an actress and photographer. And I remember we'd talk about these dreams. And she said, have you ever heard of emotional freedom technique? And I went, no. And she lent me CDs, because no one was making YouTube videos about it at the time. This was probably maybe 2005. And so she lent me these 6 CDs. And I remember her saying, these were really expensive. It was like £150 to buy this, this info product. And I went home and I studied EFT, and that was too when they taught not just the tapping, but it was the humming, and there was all these different things. You have to roll your eyes, happy birthday. And I remember thinking, what the hell is this weird thing? But straight away, it helped me deal with what I realized was this low-grade anxiety that I lived with all the time, and this low-grade kind of pervasive feeling that I was not good enough. And so I actually think for me, the deeply and completely love and accept myself, which is part of the mantra of EFT, I think that was more important for me than anything else, because I didn't love and accept myself. And even though I talk about money, if all I did was teach people how to deeply and completely love and accept themselves, I pretend it's about money, but it's not. It's only about the loving and accepting yourself. Because when you have that as a foundation, you really can do anything. And I'm actually teaching it to my little girl Willow at the moment, who's 21 months, and I just started teaching her this week, and she's already saying tapping, and she doesn't have the motor skills to do all the bits, but she's going tapping, more tapping. And the first time I did it with her, she just sat and watched, and she just nodded. So every time I deeply and completely love and accept myself, and she was just going, yeah. And I just thought, oh my God, imagine, that is life-changing. And that's why I think that the EFT is hugely, hugely important tool. So people, if you're watching and you're thinking, oh, I don't know about this, just try it. It's incredible.
Yeah, using it with children is incredible, because mine are 8 and 10 now. So they've been doing it since they were probably Willow's age. They were very little. And so, they have problems now, and they know what I'm going to say. You're going to tell us to tap on it.
Tap on it.
But you see it with clients, and you see it with kind of people, with all this stuff, it's stuff that's usually stemmed from childhood. So what a wonderful gift we can give to them, that any disappointments, hurts, upsets, anxieties, we can get them to clear it out then and there. It's just
absolutely
incredible. So hopefully our kids will grow up just to be, wow, I can't wait.
I think so. Willow listens to stuff in the car, and I just think I don't stress about being a parent. I really don't. I don't feel guilty about being a working mum or anything, because I just think if the only tool I can give her is to learn how to love and accept herself, I think that's enough, and the rest can be up to her. But yeah, I'm a huge fan of EFT. Everyone just go do some tapping. Now I'm just going to plug my laptop in because I realise I'm getting low on battery. So just excuse me for 1 second.
No problem.
This is real life, people.
Let's just see if there's any questions have come in while we have this little pause. Lots of people have joined. Hello, everybody.
Hi, everybody.
Yes, EFT. It looks bonkers, but it works. Yes, it does. It does look bonkers.
It does.
So,
works on everything.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. So in your group, very often people ask a question, just go tap on it. Love it.
Yeah, I really do. And I think I was at Abraham Hicks recently as well, and a lot of people they'd get into their story and they'd really want her to know their particular story. And the answer was pretty much the same for everything. And she was like, well, it's just an illusion. Like, it doesn't, just clear it and get move on. And to some, it sounded a bit dismissive because that people want, but I'm different. My problem's different. And I have to sometimes, remind myself to not be so abrupt sometimes in my group, because I'm always like, forgive and tap. Like, there's nothing else. Forgive everyone, like, go through, see what the commonalities are and get tapping on it, because that's it. That's all you need. There aren't any advanced strategies that you don't know.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And that was leads me on to the next question. The other thing you talk a lot about is forgiveness. And you hear a lot of personal development teachers talk about, forgiveness being the root of all healing. And, when you get to that state of forgiveness. So could you just tell us a little bit more about how forgiveness kind of works with money stories and money things?
My personal story of forgiveness, I remember watching a lot about it on the Oprah show. And she always came at it from a place of, like, these people had horrible things happen to them and they did they did forgiveness work and they had so much peace of mind. And I thought, wow, I've actually got a lot of resentment. Like, nothing super bad has happened to me, but I knew that I had a lot of resentment and a lot of anger towards family members, for example. And I just thought, what would my life be like without this clutter? And I think of it as when you've got a computer that has a lot of old programs running, it's not running efficiently. When you have a house that has a lot of clutter in it, it's just crap that's there in the way. And I just thought, I wonder what would happen if I did some forgiveness work. And it completely changed my life. And I read more about it in books like Louise Hay talks about forgiveness and how much that combined with loving yourself is just so powerful. And so I started practicing it myself, and that's when my life started to change. So, of course, when I started working with clients on money stuff, I was like, I wonder what would happen if you did forgiveness on your money stuff. Like, what would happen? And what happened was you get rid of all that old crap. And when you get rid of that crap, you have creative energy, you have energy to take action, and you then can move in a positive direction in your life. So I'm a huge fan. Like, honestly, the two tools that I use more than any other are forgiveness and EFT. That's what I always say. Forgive and tap.
It's wonderful. We've had a question come in here from Gracie Ruth. Denise, when did you learn about manifesting?
The very first book I read about manifesting is called The Magic of Believing by Claude Bristol. And it's one of those old school books really written, for men. And it never talks about manifesting. But it talks about changing your thoughts and, bringing things into reality. And I read that when I was 14. I used to go to this secondhand bookstore after school, and I never had money to buy books. So I would either sit in there for hours and read books, and occasionally I shoplifted a book. Occasionally. So that was
all coming out of mind.
Yeah. So that's the very first book that I read about manifesting, even though it wasn't necessarily about manifesting. So I think it just became a part of who I was, of changing your thoughts as the first process. And then, I guess I got led to other books as well from that.
Yeah, because a lot of us have heard, if we've read your book, have read your story about, the amazing wedding and manifesting that fabulous experience for yourself. So can you remember what the first thing you manifested was?
Yeah. It's really funny because I think I had so many blocks that I was trying to manifest using just goal setting. You know, I had a lot of blocks in my 20s, and so things didn't kind of work out. But when I started to combine all of those things, I think one of the first things that started happening for me is I started winning bingo. And because I realized I used to play bingo very fearfully, you know, I would sit there and think, oh my God, if I win, what if I suddenly develop Tourette's and I yell out something really inappropriate? Or, you know, like, oh my God, what if I win and then people are going to hate me? And because I used to go to bingo with my mum all the time, and my mum wins all the time, right? So she might win 3 or 4 times in one sitting. And, you know, all these old ladies would start to go, that's rigged, you know, and I'd sit there and I'd think, oh my God, like I can't win. So I'd psych myself out. So the very first thing I started to do, I was like, it's safe for me to win. It's okay for me to win. Like it's, you know, I deeply and completely love and accept myself. So I started tapping at bingo, and I started just winning at bingo. And I remember I won £500 at one of those bingo halls in Acton. And I just thought, wow, you know, like what if I'm allowed to have good stuff happen to me? And that's when, you know, this whole kind of year happened where I won scholarships and I won, you know, a life coaching course, and all these things started happening because I suddenly gave myself permission that it's okay for me to have money. It's okay for me to have an enjoyable life. And things started flooding in. It was very interesting. It was like I was making up for lost time.
Oh, do you know what? I've never been to bingo, but I think I might give it a whirl.
It's really fun, but I think my philosophy on winning stuff has changed, right? Because I think I used to spend a lot of energy in trying to get things for free because I didn't have any money. Yeah. And it was fun winning stuff for a couple of years. And then I went, oh, I wonder what it would be like just to buy things. Like, wow, what would that be like? And so I changed it again and so actually people say to me, oh, you must win all the time, Denise. And I go, well, first of all, I don't really play, I don't really gamble anymore because I just go, well, what would I like to buy? And I just use money to buy it instead. Yeah. So I think you go through different evolutions.
Now, I just wanted to kind of change slightly. So just talk about people kind of in you, because I'm kind of hearing this quite a bit. And there's another, I'll come on to the second question in a minute. But when kind of there's times in your life when you're not feeling particularly rich or particularly abundant, when you kind of don't have a springboard to get yourself off to the next level, or perhaps, you know, do a course you want to do, or hire a coach you want to hire, or, you know, or even just, you know, the necessities and just living, what would your advice be to people to kind of start shifting their mindset with regards, you know, when you're not feeling abundant?
Absolutely. The first thing I want to say is changing your mindset's free. It's not going to cost you anything to change your self-talk. It's not going to change you anything to tap. Tapping's free. It's not going to cost you anything to give yourself permission to earn more. So I always start with that. I always start with what mindset, what am I telling myself? Am I telling myself I'm broke? Am I telling myself that there's only a limited amount of money in the world? Am I telling myself that her success means that I'm not allowed to be successful? That's always the first start, and it's totally 100% free. The second step, I guess, is to get into a state of gratitude. A lot of us, sometimes you're seriously broken, there's literally nothing, and you know that fucking sucks. Pardon my French, but a lot of the time, I find that we're not really acknowledging the abundance that we already have in our life. And I bet a lot of us, we ignore a lot of the abundance we have. So, you know, get up and wear your makeup that you already have, put on your best underwear, use your best china, get yourself into a state of gratitude and appreciation of what you already have before you get into action, because you need to be in the right mindset before you get into action, because otherwise you're just going to probably sabotage it anyway. So just get into it, you know,
and I think, get into it. For any of us probably sitting here tonight watching this blab, either on a phone or on a computer, we sometimes forget that actually we are way more abundant than the majority of the population of the people on this planet. So actually it is actually just bring it back to gratitude, and gratitude for the things that we do have, gratitude for the homes we live in and the food in our fridge. Sometimes we just have to bring it back to that kind of level before we start getting to but this links, I think, slightly to the next question. Somebody's asked a question here. Where's it gone now? With regard to money, how do you encourage your brain to find and define a balance with desiring an innate more versus being satisfied. Does that make sense? I think I get that.
It totally does. It's like, what is enough? And I think that comes from inside yourself, because I've met people who are billionaires and they feel broke. They feel like it's not enough, and they buy things to fill that hole. So that's where I think EFT, that message of I deeply and completely love and accept myself, it fills you from the inside out. And then you can make decisions on your goals based on desire and enjoyment and fun, rather than trying to fill a hole, because the hole is never filled ever, and no amount of money will ever be enough in that way. So start from the inside out, and then you can just go, oh, well, I am happy. I do love my life. I am appreciative of everything I have. Hey, and guess what? I've got a new income goal as well, but it doesn't change the way I feel about myself. So I think that's a great question.
Okay, excellent. Now, there was another question that I got in via my Facebook page, and somebody kind of wanted to ask, even kind of, it's not even when you're not feeling abundant. What about when it's worse than that? And when you say you're deeply in debt, what advice do you have kind of when you're not even at there, you're down there?
Absolutely. A lot of people I've worked with have been in that situation. And I just want to, preface this by saying I'm not a debt counselor. I'm not a financial advisor. But it is important to still change your state, the way you feel about the money. And a lot of us have a lot of guilt and shame related to debt. Yeah. And that's what you want to work on, because it's really difficult to pay that debt down when you have those feelings, because it's all negative clutter. It's not serving you to do anything about it. So start with that. Again, start from the inside out. And then when you feel okay about it, and the debt doesn't change anything about you as a person, it doesn't mean that you're a lesser person. It just means you're somebody with debt. And when you get to that neutral feeling, you might not be at neutral income or, net worth, but you're at a neutral place in how you feel about yourself. Then you can go, all right, well, what would I like to do about this debt? And I actually paid off my debt very, very quickly, using that feeling of, what do I need to forgive myself around this debt? And I had so much resentment about the debt. One of them was we used credit cards to pay for our wedding. And I had a lot of resentment towards my husband, because I was thinking, well, I'm happy with, a smaller this and a smaller that. And he was like, we spoke about it too. He was like, I'm trying to impress people, when we dug into it. And so when I forgave that and we really did some work around it, I realized that we could pay it off much quicker because we felt neutral about it.
Yeah. No, that's brilliant. So just see if any other questions quickly. Oh, do you know what? Yes, a question here from LVM Marketing, which somebody else has also emailed me virtually the same question. Do you have any tips on how to easily visualize an abundant life? Have you ever used any, this is weird.
I know what she's saying. Subliminal messages. No.
Yeah. I've almost written down this exact same question, but it was from a different person. Almost exactly the same words, bizarrely. Do you have any tips on how to easily visualize an abundant life?
Absolutely. So I started using subliminal CDs when I was in high school. I'm a big believer of everything works, throw everything at it. So I was like, oh, I'll buy this. And I remember I bought, it was a cassette tape. So it wasn't a CD. It was a cassette. And it was about memory and visualization and all that kind of stuff. So I listened to it when I was studying, and it was a 50-minute tape, and it was beautiful kind of classical music. And listening to that put me in a state of study. It was like every time I listened to it, I was like, oh, I'm there. I'm right there. And then I started listening to them a couple of years ago. I started listening to like a creative one. So I would listen to it when I wrote my book. And again, it put me in the state of, oh, I'm writing my book. And then I created them for people in my boot camp. And the messages, I did. The messages in the boot camp were things like, it's safe for me to have money. It's safe for me to be debt free. I love winning. And I think things like that. And people would always email me and say, I can't hear the words. And I go, it's subliminal. You're not supposed to hear them with your conscious mind.
I must admit, I was one of those people. I didn't actually ask him. I thought, it just sounds like waves crashing on the sea.
It sounds like seagulls. And the very first version of that too, because I created it myself, the seagulls were very strange, and they sounded like they were fighting. So it'd be like this beautiful like beach sound, and then it'd be like, ah, ah! And I actually used subliminal stuff when I was giving birth as well. So in my last trimester, every night before I went to bed, I would put on the CD of, this person talking. You could kind of hear it, and music. And so when I went into the labour ward, we put it on again. So I think subliminal meditations are brilliant to get you into an immediate state. They can, who knows, I don't know if they work, but I feel like they work. And I feel like anything you can do to, again, pattern interrupt, get yourself into the right mental state is brilliant. So I've bought some from innertalk.com. Okay. I think they are a British company as well, but you can get them from so many places now. People make apps of them. I do have one, but it's for anyone who's bought my book, Get Rich Lucky Bitch, and you go to the book bonuses, there's a 5-minute sample of that. And if you're in my boot camp, you get the hour-long, and it's the revised version that doesn't have seagulls fighting as much in it.
I'm a huge fan of your boot camp. I am in your boot camp. I love it, and it's having a big revamp, isn't it? So,
yes,
tell us about the new, improved, sexy new boot camp.
Absolutely. So, I think this is a really big lesson in not having to do things perfectly the first time, and not get stressed about doing things perfectly. So the very first time I ran the boot camp was in 2012. Mm-hmm. It was me and an iPad filming, and it's really budget.
I love this story. I love this story. I've heard before, but I can't hear this enough, because I think so much advice to people out there starting out in business, thinking, oh, but I'm not as slick and fancy. But when you're so real and honest about where. Anyway, I'll let you carry on. Sorry, I just interrupted, but I just love the story.
It's true. When you've got a passion for a topic and you want to share it, don't wait for it to be perfect. I was doing well in my life coaching business when I created the boot camp, but I was still living quite modestly. I lived in a very small house at the time, and I just want to share this information, and I didn't realize how big it was going to become. So the first version did it on my iPad. The second version, it was me and a friend in a hotel room. And we hired a film guy to come and do it. We were super hungover because we went out for my birthday the night before, and we got blind drunk, and he turned up, and I was like shaking. I was like, I don't think I can film today. But we did it, and it was in a hotel room in Fort Lauderdale, actually. Mm-hmm. And then this third version, which I filmed, I started the process in April, filmed it in July, and it's just coming out now. So all the current boot campers, if you haven't seen it, go to your email and you'll see the new login for it. But, this was a massive project. This was a 3 or 4 person film crew, 2 cameras, lights, proper microphone. But not only that, like a set stylist and a hair and makeup person, and a fashion stylist. Like, it was such a big production, but if you feel like you have to do that straight off the gate, you probably won't. And we've had 2,500 people go through the boot camp, and if I'd waited until it was perfect, I'd be starting now with 0 people. I might have an amazing looking thing straight out the gate, but I would have missed helping 2,500 people, over the last 3.5 years. So you've got to start with what you've got now, and you can always upgrade it as you go. You can always improve it every year with feedback, with some knowledge under your belt, but also with the resources. It cost, I don't even want to know, I think it was like at least 30,000. If I added up all the costs, it'd probably be more than that to do this boot camp. If you think you had to do that straight off the gate, you probably wouldn't.
No.
So yeah.
I think that's amazing advice. I just absolutely love that. And I think that, so just looking at the other comments quickly. Amanda's asked here, the Angel Mystic, do you have daily routines, and how long do they take?
Oh, that's a great question. I was just thinking this morning, I'd love to do a video of like the day in the life, because this is what happens. Me and my hubby take turns with Willow. Mm-hmm. And sometimes she wakes up at 6 o'clock this morning. Sometimes she wakes up at 4:30. Sometimes she wakes up at 2 o'clock.
Oh, I remember those days.
Yes. So our morning, I wish I could tell you I got up and I meditated and I did yoga and all that kind of stuff. I think every second or third morning I get up and do about 3 or 4 cat and cow stretches. And I'm like, yes, I've done my yoga. And then we have breakfast, and then I usually wait for the nanny to come. She comes at 9 in the morning. or she usually comes about 1:45, and then I've usually got 15 minutes to go have a shower, throw on some makeup, because usually at 9:00 in the morning I have interviews starting, which has happened this morning. Yeah. So I usually get up, smear on some eyeshadow, and get to my desk, and I have about 4 or 5 hours desk time, and then I spend the afternoons with Willow. So I don't have this amazing, magical, relaxed day, but I have to say the work that I do in my business, it's very strategic. I'm not doing a lot of stuff that my assistant can do. I'm not doing stuff that I can outsource. My job is to turn up and talk to people. And that's what I do in my business, because nobody can do that. I can't have a Denise puppet on this wall pretending to be me. I have to turn up and do this. So I would say my morning philosophy, or my daily philosophy, is work in your zone of genius.
But I love that answer from you, and that's if you'd had given me your green smoothie meditation routine, I think I'd have been slightly disappointed. I'm sorry.
I wish. And I want to show you as well, like this is one of my interview outfits, which is just a plain top. But I'm wearing, can you see it? I'm wearing yoga pants on the bottom.
But they're turquoise yoga pants.
They are turquoise yoga pants. And my desk, I've always got random stuff. I've always got a couple of necklaces and some lipstick, and it's just, like I'm running around doing stuff. And my hubby actually is about to quit his job, and I think we will try and do a little bit more. We might try and go to the beach every day, but at the moment there's no time for that just yet. And that some of that is just time of life. All the people who've got toddlers understand. For me, I just know the next couple of years is doing my zone of genius in my business and having babies. Like, I'm cool with that. And I'm sure there'll be time in my 50s where I can meditate and stuff.
Yeah, plenty of time for that. So we'll just wrap up with kind of one or two more questions. And so another one here is, how easy did you find it to give stuff over to other people when you started to grow your business? So, yeah, again, I can relate to that. You kind of want to do it all yourself, but you can't do it all yourself, and you're not good at doing it all yourself. Then you've just got to let bits go.
Yeah, I wasn't good at it, I have to admit. I'd had a few failed attempts to hire assistants, and it never worked. And I was just like, oh, well, that obviously means I'm supposed to do it myself. What I did was I looked at the stuff that stressed me out the most. And one of the big things that stressed me out is email. I really disliked getting a lot of email. I felt helpless. I felt like every time someone sent me something, I was like a rock in a backpack that I had to carry around all day. So for me, it was hard for a couple of weeks to get my assistant to do my email. And then I realized, oh my God, this is amazing. But then, I still struggled to give my assistant my newsletter, for example. And when I had Willow, I remember saying to her, can you do my newsletter when I have the baby? She said, of course, I do newsletters for my other clients. I can do it for you. And I procrastinated. And I did a newsletter in the hospital after having Willow. And I just went, what am I doing? She'd been telling me for months, I'm ready for the newsletter, Denise. And I was going, no. And you know what? She does it on time every week. I never did. Mine would come out sometimes Thursday, sometimes Fridays, sometimes she does it at the same time every week. I never have to think about it ever again. So for those of you who are really stuck with it, just trial and error, and you'll love it on the other side of it.
Yeah. Oh. So when does a new boot camp actually launch?
Hopefully
the existing boot. Okay. So is there a big kind of we're going to be seeing you all over Facebook, or?
You know what? This is a big philosophy of mine recently too, is that there's time for stuff. And I used to put myself under a lot of pressure to finish things and work all night and all this kind of stuff. And for this boot camp, because we had a brand new everything, handouts, videos, everything, brand new boot camp site, so that was new, a new website as well. And the new website's only still migrating over. And so for me, I was like, I'm not going to put myself under pressure to to tell everyone, oh my God, it's coming out on Thursday or Wednesday, when there's so many variables in place. So, and it's the first time that I haven't done anything myself as well. So it's like, I'm just going to be really zen about this. And, we're going to do an opening special. So anyone who's, interested in that, there will be some extra bonuses if you join kind of, in this first round. But it's a new way of being for me, of being quite zen about it and just being like, the website will migrate when it migrates. I'm all good.
I'm not just saying this just to sound like, you know, teacher's pet or anything, but I've kind of, you know, I am a bit of a program and a bit of a course junkie, but the Lucky Bitch Bootcamp is it's my favorite. I love the community, and I love the kind of the daily support, and just, you know, just being able to post little wins and shares and just seeing that, and, you know, people go in with kind of problems, and it's just fabulous. So I love the community. I love everything about it. And now the whole thing's just been upgraded. I'm just in love with it all over again. And this, as I was saying, if you go on to luckybitch.com now, you will get the whole, it's a manifesting course, which you could just download now for free. And this is brilliant. So I'm going to be playing tonight with manifesting. And,
yes. And you know what, I was going to say, things like that, having a group and moderating a group like that, it doesn't happen by accident. You know, it does take a lot of intention. It does take a lot of, you know, I was a very reluctant leader for a long time. I didn't want to tell people what to do. And I thought everyone will just, you know, go along and do their own thing and it's all okay. And it's a big lesson for leaders of communities that people want to be led, and it's okay for you to set your own ground rules within your own group. And you don't have to be everything to everyone. There's been times where I thought, oh my God, maybe I should add this and this and this to the boot camp because people wanted that. And then I realized, no, I'm going to create this safe, stable place that people can come back to again and again when they need to. It doesn't have to grow and evolve with everyone's needs and wants. It's going to be the stability that people, and we call it the lucky bubble, really. You know, you come back to it and you know it's always going to be consistent and a safe space. And that's a big learning for people who are creating courses and being leaders.
Okay, that's brilliant. Well, I know you've got a super busy morning, so Lisa's just put one last thing. Now, I don't want to put you on the spot, and I'm not especially, you know, you don't have to tap now, but what is kind of, what would be your kind of like favourite tapping routine? Could you just share with us kind of something that, you know?
Absolutely. And I don't have to go, by the way. I'm happy to stay for as long as people want. I've just got a meeting starting on the hour, so we can totally stay and do questions.
Okay, cool.
I think my go-to for EFT is even though I have this fear, or even though I'm not good enough, because I still do have fear around things all the time. And I think, you know, that's just my go-to.
Just a little general round of tapping, because I do it all the time. I do it every day on Periscope. I do tapping scopes every day, and but I'd like to be led by someone else for a change. And
absolutely.
And then perhaps, you know, if everyone can think of a little fear in mind, something you're not, you know, that's what you were saying, wasn't it? Something that perhaps you're not ready for, you're not feeling good enough about, or, you know, you can tap on your own stuff, even though we can make it quite general, but you can always have your own stuff in mind. It's something called borrowing benefits, and it works brilliantly. So
absolutely. This is funny because I'm definitely not a tapping expert, by the way. It's just something that I love and enjoy. Okay, that was my disclaimer.
Style.
Okay, so just start tapping on the karate chop point and think about your thoughts and feelings about money. Any anxiety that comes up, any fear, any lack, any not enoughness of money, any bills you're worried about, and just let that kind of come in, because it's always there. And if you just let it come in and just be okay with it for the moment. And then I'm going to freestyle, so follow along with me. Even though I have this fear of money.
Even though I have this fear of money.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though there's never enough.
Even though there's never enough.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though I have all of this debt.
Even though I have all of this debt.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though there's not enough in the universe for me.
Even though there's not enough in the universe for me.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though I've reached the limit of how much I can earn.
Even though I've reached the limit of how much I can earn.
And my success so far has been a fluke.
My success so far has been a fluke.
And this income plateau is really real.
And this income plateau is really real.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
even though I'm not doing the work in my business I should.
Even though I'm not doing the work in my business that I should.
And I'm too scared to increase my prices.
And I'm too scared to increase my prices.
And I probably won't get any more clients ever again.
I won't get any more clients ever again.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Even though I'm blocking money.
Even though I'm blocking money.
And I'm terrified of money.
And I'm terrified of money.
And I probably won't be able to accept any more money ever again.
And I probably won't be able to accept any more money ever again.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
I deeply and completely love and accept myself.
Cool. Oh, deep breath.
Thank you. It makes a change tapping with someone else. That's brilliant. I get to tap with Denise. How exciting. How cool.
That's brilliant. So, yes, if there are any other last questions, I'm totally happy to.
There was a question. It made me laugh a while ago, and I actually know the answer to this question. Somebody said, is that Denise's office wall behind her?
Yes, it is actually a pop-up exhibition stand. I think it's from a company called Display Builders in Australia. You can get them from lots of different places. You know, they're just the banners that you get from companies that do, you know, conferences and exhibitions. And for me, it's been such a great investment because my office can be a shambles. I can be a shambles, but just, you know, having that behind me, it just makes everything feel so nice. And I'm about to move offices actually, and I'm thinking, what am I going to do in my new office? Because it doesn't fit. It's a little bit too wide. And so I'm thinking, oh, maybe it's time to do a new one.
So you're telling me you've got your ironing behind there and your stuff?
Oh, not quite, but it's a shambles.
Oh, I love it. So, right. How did you feel when you made your first million?
I realized how blocked I was about getting to $1 million. That was the big aha for me. I joined a group at the start of the year that was all women who were either at seven figures or striving to get seven figures. And I remember thinking, there's no way I can do this. You know, there's no way that I can do it. And I had to change my thoughts and feelings about it, first of all. So the very first thing is I changed my password to reflect my money goal. And that's a huge one because it made me, you know, you type it in every day, and it made me realize maybe I could do this. Maybe I could do this. And I did a lot of tapping on what it meant to go to seven figures. And I couldn't even really say the word millionaire. I was saying, oh, I'm a trillionaire, but I'd be like, millionaire. So again, it's all mindset work. And I had to really look at what beliefs I had around doing that. It's like, oh, I have to work twice as hard as I did last year to do it. So it was all mindset stuff. So for me, when I knew I hit it, it was really funny. I texted a friend who's not an entrepreneur, and I was like, hey, guess what? And I think it wasn't anticlimactic, but it just felt like this is my new normal. So someone was saying, oh, go out and celebrate. And Mark said, do you want to buy a really expensive handbag? And I went, no, I'm actually okay. So I think I bought myself a ring or something like that, like $100 ring. Because I thought,
what does your husband make of all your success? So when you kind of think about where you were kind of 10 years ago and where you are, because sounds a bit like a conversation I've had with my husband. You know, this time next year, a bit like, I don't know if you watch Only Fools and Horses, this time next year we'll be millionaires. And you know, my husband used to say, yeah. And, you know, I'm still kind of like, you know, I will prove you wrong. I will prove you wrong. Do you remember that defining moment where you kind of like, you know, can you relate to any of these conversations with your husband?
When Mark and I first got together, so that was in 2003, he was 19, I was 23. And we spoke about it then. We said, you know, we're going to be millionaires one day. Fantastic. And it doesn't mean that was a really smooth journey mindset-wise, because we both had money blocks to deal with. And sometimes he's affected mine. And so we had to constantly work on that together. And, you know, so it took a lot longer than we thought, I suppose, but then not really. So it's been constant talking, and I think he's used to me now of just like every couple of years I go, this is what we're doing. This is the new direction we're going in. And I know that I'm the driver of that, and he's the supporter, and he's the one that kind of helps make it happen from a logistical point of view. You know, he's the one that does paperwork and make sure that we're like, you know, doing things properly as we go forth and grow it. But I'm the driver of it. And that's fine. You know, I'm happy to do that, because you think, sometimes I hear from women, they go, oh God, he's not coming along. And it's like, well, what's the alternative? You have to be the driver of it. You want him to step up and do something different, but I'm sorry, it has to be you. And you're the one you've been waiting for. And when I embraced that, I just went, oh, okay, I'm the one that has to make it happen. That's cool. And Mark is finishing his job at the end of this month. And so he'll be moving into my office at that time, and I'll be moving into a different office.
So will you be working, you'll be working at home together?
Yes, but I don't think we'll interact that much when we're both working. I think because I just go into my office and shut the door, and I think he'll probably do the same. He was at home yesterday because the new guy started. So, he was like, I'll work from home while the new guy starts, and then they'll do transition. And there were a few times he was like, hey, where's this? And I'm like, I'm at work. And he'll be the same. He'll go in and shut the door, and he'll be fine in his new career too. He'll be totally fine.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, wow. Well, I think we've covered all the questions.
Any other questions, guys?
Yeah. Any more questions? Denise just got a couple more minutes. How do you cope with the reversal in traditional roles?
Yeah, I thought about this a lot because there isn't a real reversal. He's not a house husband.
Okay.
We definitely outsource some of those roles. So we haven't reversed the traditional roles. We've outsourced some of them. So we've got a cleaner, we've got a nanny who kind of helps. We've got a food delivery service. So neither of us has to do those things that neither of us want to do. I think the whole money thing has been interesting. He earns a really good 6-figure salary himself. And now that he's quitting his job and he'll be working for himself, there will be a time where I am the only breadwinner for a short amount of time. But I think that's okay. I think we're at a stage where we feel very stable, and we'll be totally okay with that. And I think he had a bit of a thing of like, oh my God, you want me to be the house husband? And I'm going, no, I don't. I want you to do what you want to do, but I want to have some flexibility in our lives. So I think it's something that you have to just keep on talking about. I've said that a few times, when I wanted to make $1 million, I was like, how would you be if I made $1 million? And he'd be like, of course. I'm like, no, seriously, let's talk about it. What does it bring up for you? Are there any things I need to be aware of? Is there going to be, some stuff that makes you feel bad? Because that's going to make me hold back on this goal too. So we need to be on the same page. It's tricky. I'll be honest about it. It can be tricky, but I think we're in a good place to do it.
Brilliant. And Martha's just asked a question, which I'm going to tweak slightly, which reminds me of the exercise in your book where you ask us all to write out your ideal day. And I still have that by the side of my bed. I have my pile of, what did I call it? My high vibrational clutter, because it's stacked high of personal development books. And in there, I have my journal with my ideal day written in it. And I have it imprinted in my memory. So did you do that exercise yourself? And Martha's question was actually, what is your ideal lifestyle? So have you achieved that ideal day yet?
Yeah, absolutely. But when I dreamt of my ideal day back when I was living in London and commuting every day, I forgot to put in that when you have babies, like when you have kids, they kind of derail your ideal day. Because I used to think, I wake up in a beautiful bed and, can hear the ocean, and I get up and I do yoga, and then I go have a green juice, then I meditate. And I was like, I do wake up in a beautiful bed, but I don't do some of that other stuff. But I think the big dream I had for myself was the freedom and flexibility to do what I wanted to do. And that was what I dreamt about when I was commuting to my job in, 45 minutes outside of London in the cold. That's what I dreamt about, to have that freedom and flexibility. And that's what I have. And I can't wait for Mark to experience that, because there's nothing like it to get up and just to go, well, I'm only talking to people that I want to talk to today. And I've actually forgotten now, because I'm in this ideal life, I forget that there are, I forget that there's some stuff that I never used to like. And I forget sometimes that, that I trigger older men, because in my jobs, I remember always thinking, they know what they're talking about. And now I meet older men, I forget that I'm supposed to, kowtow to them a bit. And it's almost like I've forgotten some rules of society, though. Working for yourself, you go a bit wild. You forget that yoga pants aren't necessarily acceptable day wear and things like that.
Why not? So, why not?
Yeah, they are.
And I love what Martha's just said here about, how lovely that you have a partner you can create a vision with together. I think there's a lot of envious people out there when our husbands aren't fully on board, but I think that's just wonderful. And one final question, a couple of people asked, when are you coming back to London?
Yeah, great question.
It's hard to travel with children, isn't it? But yeah,
we
want you back here.
I would like to come back as well. And I think the perspective I have now is long term, and I think sometimes people go, create this now. And I think I'm going to be around for a long time, guys. I'm going to be coming to the UK every single year. It's going to be part of my overall life plan to do a US tour, a UK tour every single year. That might not happen next year. It might not happen the year after, but it will happen. So we've just got to think. We're all about instant gratification, but you got to think long term. I will be around forever. I will be like Louise Hay, speaking on stage in my 80s. I promise. So there's time, people.
Yeah.
There's time for everything. And that's a big lesson, I think, for everyone. Sometimes we think there's not enough time, and you think, God, I've got to write all of the books of my career this year, and I've got to speak all the speeches of my career this year, or I'm a failure. And you've just got to think, we're going to have a long, rich life ahead of us, and we don't have to do everything all at the same time. We can let things unfold, and you can experience things on a longer term basis.
Yeah, absolutely. And I did post in the Lucky Bitch group this morning that I met Ali Brown yesterday because she was in the UK, and that was a key takeaway she got for after she had her children. She just had to simplify everything. She was going crazy stuff. Actually, her core value was freedom, and actually stripping that all back away again and getting, I think we forget our values sometimes, but actually we just have to keep that for what is the most important thing to us. And it was freedom. And she'd kind of forgotten about that in her busyness. And, but anyway, so I think I
totally agree. And for me too, it's not, like someone asked me to speak later in this year, and I just thought, I don't want to do it. It's the thought of it stresses me out. And I just think, well, you have to honor those things, and you have to create your business for you. Like, I've actually got a very lean team on purpose because it doesn't feel good for me to have a big team of people to manage. And that's a personal choice to do that. And everything in your business can be a personal choice based on what feels good for you. Yeah.
Well, you need to go. You've got your call to make, and I just want to say thank you so much for this interview. It's been wonderful. I think everyone else has really enjoyed it. We've got loads of value. I will be posting the replay out for anyone who's missed it, but it's just wonderful. So luckybitch.com, go and check Denise out if you haven't already. Read her book, just download her stuff. I just love her. Big girl crush.
Thanks, everybody. I really appreciate it. And my final message for everyone is, today is your lucky day. You don't have to wait for the stars to align. You don't have to wait for Mercury retrograde to be over. You don't have to wait for somebody else to give you permission. You just decide that today is your lucky day.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Denise. And
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.